Pakistan is ready. Pakistan has always been ready for dialogue. It is India which suspended dialogue. It is India that took steps that made dialogue impossible because it created an environment in which a conducive dialogue cannot take place.
The recent ceasefire has temporarily eased tensions between India and Pakistan. But what specific action is Pakistan prepared to take to ensure that such escalations do not happen again? And, to secure like a long-term kind of a ceasefire or long-term peace between the two countries.
I think our viewership will be in a better position to understand, what Pakistan can do and how much Pakistan is committed to the ceasefire. If you look at the background as to what happened and what led to this ceasefire. So basically, it was India that took a series of escalatory steps after this 22nd April terrorist incident in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. And so you saw this, they put in abeyance the Indus Water Treaty right away, and there were statements, rhetoric, and then we had intelligence that they'll go to the route of kinetic action. We warned the international community about that. And then they did not listen to any of the advice from the international community to de-escalate and committed aggression. So, all of that is in the background, 6th and 7th, the night of 6th and 7th, when they attacked, and then Pakistan had to defend itself. And then further escalation on 9th, 8th and 9th, the night, and then 9th of May. And then it was very evident that Pakistan was in a position, we had the upper hand. And then a request came, there was an offer that was made to us through the US, to which we agreed because we never wanted, to be in such a situation in the first place. So we were committed to peace. So we agreed to the ceasefire from a position of strength. And so that's the basic, that's the biggest, argument that we have, that since we agreed to a ceasefire from a position of strength, we will continue to abide by it. And we expect that India will also continue to fully abide by the ceasefire.
Sir, India has repeatedly, accused Pakistan of sponsoring militants in Kashmir. And Pakistan has also published quite a few dossiers on Indian involvement in terror activities across Pakistan. And yet we see that that narrative that Pakistan has been trying to build has been quite difficult to come along. So why do you think that is? And is it because of India's economy, or do you think India has stronger foreign ties?
No, I don't think that is the case because the evidence actually, if you compare the Indian approach and Pakistani approach, most of uh, their outreach to the international community, to others through media is a propaganda-based approach. Very little of evidence is there, no investigations. Well, Pakistan, whenever we have gone to the international community, we have presented solid evidence in the shape of dossiers, which actually shows how India has been involved in terrorist activities in Pakistan directly and through its proxies. It's increasingly evident through its support for TTP and BLA. You've seen the BLA statements recently, very, very clear how they are relating their activities to India. So I believe there is a difference in approach. As far as India is concerned, their use of terrorism bogey, it has certain, political and strategic objectives behind that. Number one, by doing that, they want to undermine the legitimacy of the Kashmiri freedom movement for self-determination. They also want to hide their own state terrorism and human rights violations in Kashmir. That's number one. On that, I think they are totally defeated because that narrative is not working. The Kashmiris are alienated. If that was a strategic objective, it has failed to achieve it. Secondly, they have been using the issue of terrorism, to malign Pakistan and to put pressure on Pakistan, either militarily, through such actions that they undertook on 6th of May, like you remember Pulwama, and also diplomatically, economically, they've been trying to squeeze Pakistan. But we saw that in this particular instance also. I mean, this strategic objective of theirs, it met with a strategic humiliation. And thirdly, which is very important and which the international community is now writing quite a lot, it has to do with their internal politics. And the BJP, the Hindutva, the saffronization of Indian politics. And in that, they see this terrorism, being seen as very strong against Pakistan. So anti-Pakistan, anti-Muslim sentiment they use to get the right-wing Hindu majority votes. So I leave it to the Indian public to determine as to, in what direction the leadership is taking them. That's not for us to, but we will highlight this. I think this is a big factor in this whole game that India plays around terrorism.
Many analysts believe, and we've been reading quite a few, editorials and op-eds. And one thing that is very prominent is how this conflict has made the world hyphenate India-Pakistan, meaning putting both the countries on the same level, because earlier India got away with playing the victim, and combine that with Donald Trump kind of recently offering to mediate the 1,000-year-old Kashmir dispute. He's basically contradicting India's long-held position that this is a bilateral matter. Do you see this as an opportunity for Pakistan, where the world is now looking at India and Pakistan as kind of unequal when it comes to regional tensions, and the second, US president wants to mediate and solve the Kashmir issue?
Well, in my view, India, Pakistan were never actually dehyphenated. They were, for some reason, some of the countries, were towing that line that India wanted. But it was never possible because India is not in that league that, it considers it as. And even now, although we have this deterrence, overall nuclear deterrence, but even on the conventional side, it has been proven, and this is now led to many analysts, talking about the conventional capabilities that the two countries have. But yeah, the debate is back again, and it is also because of the Indian media and all of that, which is pointing out that we are re-hyphenated again. We were not actually dehyphenated, in my view. But the overall thing is very important because what has happened is, Kashmir is back in the spotlight. So India never wanted that. So this is a kind of a failure of their approach. And it has also exposed some of the illogical positions that India has taken over a period of years vis-a-vis its relationship with Pakistan, vis-a-vis its approach on Kashmir. So to the members of the international community, India says that we don't want your involvement. We will discuss our issues with Pakistan bilaterally. And that there is no bilateral dialogue, which India itself suspended like 9-10 years ago. So, there was this dichotomy in its position, which is now more exposed because while welcoming the ceasefire, many of the countries around the world, including the US, obviously, which facilitated the ceasefire, the UN Secretary General, they have said that we welcome the ceasefire, but they have also said that the two countries should sit together, they should resume dialogue, there should be space for diplomacy for them to address their outstanding issues. And this has exposed the the position that India has taken for so many years, that while at the one hand you don't have a dialogue with Pakistan, and on the other hand you tell our friends who want to play a role that we don't want your role either. The Secretary General of the UN wants to offer his good offices. Pakistan welcomes that, and they refuse that offer. So I think, I mean, you are right. When other countries, when US, when the Secretary General says you have to address your issues, they are rightly pointing out that, you know, every few years, Pakistan and India find themselves in such a conflict-like situation, tensions are running high. But at the backdrop, at the bigger picture needs to be seen. And there you see very clearly on the canvas, it's the Jammu and Kashmir dispute. So unless that issue is addressed between India and Pakistan, everyone agrees that this durable peace and stability in South Asia will continue to elude us. This is very important. This is one of the important outcomes from this latest episode between the two countries.
So while we do know what India was trying to portray there, and like I said, we've read quite a few editorials and op-eds in international media, which all of them point out that India received more losses than Pakistan. But what I'm trying to ask is, how is Pakistan planning on using this opportunity? Because as you also mentioned, the lack of consistent dialogue between India and Pakistan, it's a significant barrier to peace. Every few years there are skirmishes, there's a conflict, and then there's ceasefire. So perhaps maybe you could tell us about what conditions Pakistan would be willing to, resume kind of meaningful talks with India, and what role do you see third-party mediation like the United States playing? Because, like you mentioned, India tells the world that this is a bilateral issue, but India has, there's a deadlock on the talks.
Well, yes, I believe there are many things that will be under consideration. First, our friends, they are now beginning to understand, from which side are the hurdles. Because, these calls for dialogue that are coming from many of our common friends, including the US and the Secretary General, they are being welcomed by Pakistan, but they are being rebuffed by India. I mean, India also tried to refute the role that the US played on its request, to bring about a ceasefire. So this is the different approach, really opposite approach that India and Pakistan have with regard to how this issue, needs to be addressed. But before I go to, Kashmir and what can be done about the dialogue between the two countries, it's important to understand that the escalation that we saw this time around was, totally different, at a totally different level that what we had seen in the past, like in 2019. So there's a lot that is being written about that. And the Indian narrative that, they wanted to establish a new normal, I think it has fallen flat because of what happened, because of the kind of losses that they had to incur, and the successes of Pakistan on the military field, in the aerial combat also. So for us, we have clearly established and re-established deterrence within the conventional sphere, which is another important message. And we have said that for us, the only normal is respect for international law and sovereignty and territorial integrity. Now we come to, the next steps. Pakistan is ready. Pakistan has always been ready for dialogue. It is India which suspended dialogue. It is India that took steps that made dialogue impossible, because it created an environment in which a conducive dialogue cannot take place. So I believe there are steps that India should take And I think in this case, instant thing that they can do is to revert the decision about, the Indus Water Treaty. In any case, whenever this dialogue will take place, we believe that it should encompass, all the issues that are there to be discussed between the two countries. And like we used to have this composite dialogue. So Pakistan does not run away from discussion on terrorism, for example, which India is telling the international community that we will only discuss terrorism. We are ready to discuss terrorism. We have more things to bring to the table as far as India's activities in terrorism in Pakistan and also, by the way, globally are concerned. But the dialogue has to be on wider issues between the two countries. Kashmir will be part of it. There will be other issues also. I think this is the way forward. The ball is on the Indian court, and they need to assume their responsibility by responding to these calls from the international community that the two sides should sit together. As far as the mediation or facilitation of third parties is concerned, Pakistan has always welcomed that. It's always been India which has rejected these offers. They have also turned down on many occasions the offer by the UN Secretary General to play his good officer's role. So this shows a mindset that is not actually very conducive to a dialogue, but we still hope that we'll eventually move to the table to discuss and sort out our issues.
So India has put it in abeyance, and World Bank is also, World Bank was the one that brokered it. Now Pakistan is already facing water, scarcity issues. How does Pakistan view the role of United Nations or the international community addressing this critical, issue and mediating the dispute, because water is life, and because of climate change and Pakistan's vulnerability to it, we are already in a position where we cannot, we are already in a difficult situation because of the climate change and the vulnerability of Pakistan.
Yeah, then to put it shortly, for all of those reasons that you just described, with regard to the importance of the Indus Water Treaty for Pakistan, you know that the National Security Committee, the very next day after India's announcement, we declared very clearly that this is unacceptable, and if India tries to divert or stop the flow of water, which is Pakistan's right, under the treaty, it will be considered as an act of war. So the position is very clear. If you're talking about the legal perspective over there, it's also very clear. No one has, endorsed India's decision. All those who have spoken about it or given their views, they have noted that this is in violation of international law, first of all, and this is a specific violation of the treaty itself, to which India and Pakistan are two parties, obviously, facilitated by the World Bank, which is the guarantor. So there is no provision within the treaty itself for which, talks about putting it into abeyance. There's no provision for suspension either. So from legal perspective, it's very clear. So Pakistan is looking at all the dimensions through which we will, take up this matter. There are legal issues, there are other issues, technical issues, and I believe, as far as we have noted the response from the various countries, the members of the international community, World Bank itself, the president had said that he sees there is no provision in the treaty for this decision of India. So we are on a solid ground. Again, this shows the difference in approach that Pakistan and India have. on how we can tackle our issues. On one hand, there is a country which is hell bent on violating international law, violating the bilateral treaties, and on the other side is Pakistan, which is, acting in a very responsible manner within the confines of international law and very committed to, our bilateral arrangements.
So you mentioned international law. But for whatever has been happening for the past year and a half, it's obvious that international law and what it meant is, being questioned now. It's under scrutiny. And we saw the recent conflict between India and Pakistan. There was an increased use of drone and, advanced military technology. It was modern warfare. So one, what is Pakistan's stance on the risks that this modern warfare poses for future technological escalation between the two countries? And also, is this the new normal? Because we've seen violations of international law in Gaza and also in Ukraine, but the UN has not been able to make a point. The UN has not been able to stop Israel in Gaza. The aid has not been, being delivered there. Considering what's happening globally and the way, countries are allowed to violate international law, do you think what India has done, attacking Pakistan, deep inside Pakistan and sending drones and, Pakistan sending drones to India, is this the new normal then?
Yeah, so on the one hand, there is this, the new dimensions in warfare. So we have advanced at various stages over the period of years. So there are new technologies, new equipment. There's the autonomous weapons, drones are there, and many kind of new capabilities. It will continue to evolve, and there are ongoing discussions on how to regulate, the use of such weaponry, such capabilities, including AI in warfare. So that's a separate discussion. But your comment about international law and how international law has been violated, or I would say not universally respected and applied. You mentioned certain situations, most notably Gaza. It's right that on one side in that case, which is Israel, has enjoyed they've benefited from this impunity because it has been protected by some major powers. But if you look at it, the discussion in the UN, the general opinion among the international community, the mainstream media, social media, you will see that the large majority of the international opinion is on the other side, which is for respect of international law, which is a condemnation of the actions that Israel is taking vis-a-vis Gaza. So there is a very clear distinction.
Yes, sir, but those are still statements and nothing is...
No, it's not statements. It's not statements. There is a lot of pressure that is there within the UN, for example, in the Security Council. Yes, you can argue that one country that has been backing Israel has been able to shield them, but it is at a great cost because the rest of the international community, the rest of the Security Council, they've been very clear in saying as to what is happening there and what needs to be done. So it's not that simple as you say, they've been shielded, so it's the end of it. So the General Assembly, for example, next month is going to convene a big conference on the whole issue of Palestine and the two-state solution. This is another opportunity for the international community to move towards Palestinian statehood. So despite what Israel has been doing on ground, the international community is solidly on the other side and is on the side of international law. So yes, there are challenges in universal application of international law, But the majority of the international community always sides with the UN, always sides with the international law. Now, when it comes to India and Pakistan, I think we should be clear, and we have demonstrated that Pakistan is not a country that is dependent or relying on others as far as defending Pakistan is concerned, as far as our own defense is concerned. So we have shown this capability, we have proven this, that we on our own, we are able to defend against any aggression. This latest incident is a proof of that. So Pakistan is in a different category. So it's not, like any other situation where you have a bigger country supported by, some of their allies who can subdue you. Pakistan is clearly, we have proven, and in my view, it has always been our understanding that we have to defend ourselves with our own capabilities. So that is very, very evident to the international community. We do not need to rely on others. We will continue to abide by international law. Our actions, our responses will always be in accordance with international law, but we have to remain prepared.
Okay, so I'm just going to wrap it up by saying this, that Pakistan defended its territory, and even our narrative building was quite strong. Our press conferences giving evidence and all of those things. Even the international media was not so kind to India and Indian narrative. So this brings Pakistan into like a very good position globally. My last question to you before we wrap up is, do you think Pakistan and Pakistan's foreign delegation, which is, going to countries, to put across Pakistan's narrative, what do you think about that delegation, Bilawal Bhutto leading it, and how do you think Pakistan can take advantage of this win that we have gotten on the global stage?
Yes, there are several delegations that will be going out. It will be very useful because these are all senior, level people who have this extraordinary ability to project Pakistan's perspective at high levels. I believe that the stage is set. We are sitting in a position that is very conducive. We have, on the one hand, showed to the international community that Pakistan, as compared to India, which is a country which is seen now base all its policies based on lawlessness in violation of international law. Pakistan has shown that it is a responsible state. Our response to this aggression was also very mired in accordance with international law. And the bigger thing is that we are prepared to discuss, all issues. We have our own things to inform the international community about India's destabilizing role in the region, especially vis-a-vis Pakistan. Its support for the proxies that are trying to destabilize Pakistan, its support for terrorism inside Pakistan. So that will be just one part of the outreach that will be there to counter this false pretext that India has always been using, that it's a victim of terrorism. It's in fact Pakistan which is the biggest victim of terrorism. But our discussions will not be limited to the terrorism issue. Our discussion is wider. Our discussion is more logical. We are talking about the major issues that have imperiled peace and stability in our region. We're going to talk about dialogue and diplomacy. We're going to talk about the imperative of resolving, moving forward on the issue of Kashmir. So our agenda, our discussions, our perspective are going to be broader, and unlike the narrow agenda that India has pursued vis-a-vis its policies in South Asia and Pakistan. So we stand on good grounds, and I believe that these visits are going to be very useful.
All right. Thank you so much, Asim Sir, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.